Avoiding catastrophe is significantly more profitable than trying to expedite success. Most people don't want to hear that because it's not glamorous. It's not a movie moment, it's not a dramatic reinvention. But it's true, and biologically, it's how your brain actually works. We think success happens from adding more things, adding better things. More discipline, more habits, more routines, more hustle. But your brain doesn't work like a shopping cart. It works like a network, a set of neural circuits that already exist. And when you try to force a sudden new identity, you're basically trying to build a highway from scratch overnight, with no resources, with no blueprint, with no roads. By the way, I've opened a small private community, nothing polished, just a space where the few people who do resonate with this content can go deeper together. If you want to join early, the link is in the description. It's free of cost, of course. Moving on. So what does your brain do easily? It rewires the already existing circuit. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and change permanently, doesn't actually create new circuits for new habits for the most part. It modifies the circuits you already have, meaning your bad habits and your good habits don't live in separate compartments. Matter of fact, they're often built on the same sort of loops. That's why quitting something cold and then instantly replacing it with a perfect routine feels impossible. Your brain doesn't want a vacuum. It wants a replacement. This is why avoiding catastrophe is a more realistic form of self-improvement than chasing a new life, a better life. What I'm referring to as catastrophe in this context, the bad habits, those self-sabotaging loops, they're already wired. They're the circuits that your brain defaults to. Trying to sprint towards success while those circuits are still is like trying to run with a parachute tied to your waist. If you want to grow, you don't need a new identity. You need a better use of the wiring that you already have. Replacing, not adding. Here is something that I have personally realized. Growing up, the best decisions I ever made were not the ones where I was trying to build something or create a perfect routine. The turning points in my life happened when I identified something that I didn't want to be, something I didn't want to continue doing, some behavior I recognized as destructive or misaligned. My life got better every time I removed a wrong path, not every time I forced a new one. It was always subtraction before construction. You know the saying, it needs to get worse before it can get better. Eliminating one harmful pattern gave me more clarity and momentum than any self-help strategy, productivity hack ever could. You don't always need to chase a better version of yourself. Sometimes you just need to stop becoming the worst one. Now back to the science. Instead of trying to speed run success, you switch habits like you're upgrading your operating system. One small component at a time. You don't remove the habit, you give it a new direction. The same circuitry that made you crave junk food can make you crave real, actual nourishment once you associate it with the same reward. The same circuitry that drove doom scrolling can drive curiosity into reading, learning, and building something. Same circuitry that powered procrastination can power preparation. You're not fighting your brain, okay? You're rerouting it. This is why most people fail. They want a transformation. They ignore the architecture. They want the final product without upgrading the wiring. Trying to change everything is just self-sabotage in disguise. Every time you execute one huge overhaul, you burn out your dopamine system and your brain snaps back to the original circuits, the comfortable, the predictable ones. But when you switch one habit at a time, slow, deliberate, boring, your brain actually keeps up. It integrates that change, stabilizes it, and prepares for the next one. And this is where the whole avoiding catastrophe concept comes in. If you just stop doing the one thing that ruins you the most, your life improves faster than if you try to do 10 different productivity fucking hacks, productivity things at once. Cut out the one thing that destroys your momentum, and we all know what it is. Replace it with something a little bit better, not perfect, but better than what you had. Let your brain rewire. Let that become the new circuit, then do it all over again. That's how identities are built. Not by chasing success, but by gradually removing what corrupts the path. Think about who you want to become, not in a cheesy future self way, but in a very human way, in a very grounded way. What version of you would you respect? What version of you would you trust? Now ask, what is the one habit that version of myself just absolutely does not do, does not have? Start there. Remove that catastrophe. Replace that circuit. Small progress compounds. And the irony is, once you stop sabotaging yourself, success stops feeling like something you chase. It becomes something you grow into automatically, gradually. It becomes natural, because that is how the brain is built. I am rooting for you. You have a lovely day.